It's so funny. The screensaver that she's got is like the father of the whole family in the middle of it. Lord, just pray your blessing on it. Receptive, Jesus. Thank you so much for this gift. You are truly a gift, Lord. Hey. And Josh. And Willow.
Hey, thanks guys. Right. So, yeah, we've got our final psalm session this morning. So we had Tori over here kick us off, and then Daisy smashed it last week, I heard. Oh no, I can't preach with you here. No. So yeah, it's me this morning, and I think this is the final one. So our last psalm sesh. And Psalm 1 is where we're headed. So if you've got a Bible, you can grab it. I'm going to have it up on the screen as well, so it's not absolutely necessary. I'm going to attempt to keep it short and sweet-ish, but we'll see how we go. Yeah. Oh, it's just getting it. It's good that God's moving and doing stuff. So, yeah, I just pray that this would be a continuation of what God is already doing in this room this morning. So, Psalm 1 of my favourites. Should we just start by reading it together? I use NIV, so this is NIV. Kept it simple. So yeah, let me read this. Follow along in your Bible if you want to. So it says this: Blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in the way that sinners take, or sit in the company of mockers, but whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and who meditates on his law day and night. That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. Not so the wicked. They are like chaff that the wind blows away. Therefore the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For the Lord watches over the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked leads to destruction. So that is our psalm for this morning. And there's a few reasons why it's one of my favourites. Probably number one is I absolutely love the natural world. So anything that has an image of a flower or a tree grabs me immediately. So that's me. But I think more than that, even if you're not like a real fan of trees or living, growing things, I just love that this is such a strong, clear, simple image. I kind of imagine the psalmist. People debate whether it was Ezra or David, but it doesn't really matter. Whoever wrote this, I imagine them walking alongside of a stream and seeing a tree. Can you put up the next slide, Nick? Perhaps a bit like this one. And just looking at that and thinking, wow, that is a bit like a picture for human flourishing. And I just love that it's just so accessible. It's so clear and simple, this picture, so I love that. And I think as well, I love this psalm on a personal level. And I think, Tori, when you spoke on Psalm 139, a lot of what you were bringing, it ministered to you personally. And there's something in that, when you personally kind of journey something with God, and then you read it in his word, and it just gets you because you know it, you've lived it. It's not just words, you really know. And I think for me, this kind of image of this tree by this stream, and this way of flourishing with roots deep in the life of God, has been something, particularly over the last few years, that has just become ever more real to me. And I feel personally really excited about this psalm, not as like a way that we can all sit here this morning and feel really bad about how we're not good enough Christians. I really don't want this to be a you should be doing better kind of talk. But I kind of felt it's more like there's just something on offer if we can really grapple with the truth of what's in this psalm. It's like the most exciting invitation of a way of living and moving through the world and in our own lives where we get to tap into something that is so radically different from anything the world offers. And I mean, everything that these guys shared about Boomtown is like a picture of that. It's so attractive and it's so different and it's so available. So I'm personally just really excited about what is on offer to us in this psalm if we can really grapple with it. So let's just go there. Let's dive in and explore it together. I'm going to sneakily sort of compare it with another bit of scripture. I know it's going to be a Psalm one, but Jeremiah 17 is basically a paraphrase of this psalm, but it just adds a little bit more detail which kind of helps flesh it out. So I'm going to flip between the two a little bit. So if you do have a Bible, you could have one finger in Psalm 1 and the other finger in Jeremiah 17 if you like, but I'm going to put it up on the screen, if not.
Stream on the mind.
Streams on the mind. So, Psalm 1 opens with this line, "Blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in the way that sinners take, or sit in the company of mockers." And if you just put up Jeremiah 17, Nick, this is how he puts it. Cursed, quite a strong word there. Cursed is the one who trusts in man, who draws strength from mere flesh, and whose heart turns away from the Lord. So both these bits of scripture kind of start with, this is an image of what it looks like when we're not flourishing. This is how not to flourish. And both the Psalm and Jeremiah kind of explain it as, it's this place we get to where we've this kind of human energy that we have for pursuing something, this deep thirst that we have. We've used all of our energy to go after things of the world, to kind of get swept away by what all the people are doing around us, to put all of our hope and our trust and our desire for strength and wisdom in the people around us, in man. And in doing so, our hearts have just been moved away from God. And they're both saying, you know, that's what it looks like to not flourish, basically. If that's where you've got yourself into, you're not going to be flourishing. This is not a healthy place to be. But instead, back to the psalm, it says, okay, so this is not a good place, but instead, you are blessed if your delight is actually in the law of the Lord, in God's words, and you meditate on that law day and night. So it's kind of like this sense of, okay, instead of all of your passion and pursuit and joy and delight being turned towards man, the things of the world, kind of trusting in those things, if your heart is instead turned towards God, and that's where your joy, your delight, your passion, your energy is centered, if you're filling your mind and your heart with his words and his promises, then you're blessed. And Jeremiah, again, pop that one back on, adds this slightly extra flavour. Where is it? He says here in this verse, "But blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord and whose confidence is in him." So it's like this sense of, okay, we're not even just filling our minds and our hearts with God's word, but we're like staking our life on them. We're actually, in our actions and our thoughts and our decisions, we are being shaped by God's words, and our trust and our confidence is in God's goodness and not in the world systems and not in man. It's in God. And so there's these kind of two parallel pictures to begin with. This does not look like human flourishing. This looks like being blessed. This looks like flourishing. And then they both basically come together in, okay, if you haven't understood any of that, here is an image that you can grapple with, that you can get your head around. Back to that tree. Here is what it looks like in a metaphor, in an image, in something that you've probably seen a million times, a tree by a stream. And it's such a beautiful image. And it says, okay, this is what this kind of centered, focused, intentional, that was a word we've heard a lot this morning, intentional life looks like. It looks like a tree planted right by a stream with its roots going deep into the water. That's what it looks like. just pop that psalm back on again. Let's just actually read what it says. He is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, whose leaf does not wither. Our landlady recently wanted to plant a tree in our garden, which was lovely. Apparently for shade, but she's planted an apple tree about this big, so it's going to be a while before we get any shade from that thing. But it's this cute little tree, and we helped her plant it, me and the kids. But unfortunately, we planted it. Do you remember we had that really hot few weeks? What was that, June or somewhere around there?
A lifetime away.
Yes. A distant memory, the summer that was. But anyway, we had that really hot, dry spell. And unfortunately, we planted this apple tree right in that thing. And so it was a lot of work to then ensure that this little tree didn't immediately keel over and die. So I took it upon myself. And so I was out there twice a day with a watering can, trying to keep this tree alive. Hold that image in your head. Second image from recent life. During that same time of hot, dry weather, I've been volunteering on a local flower farm. You might not know that about me, but I love flowers. And eventually I would love to do some growing. So I've been helping a lady out on a local flower farm, and I went and visited during that really hot, dry bit, and we were kind of walking around, and she was showing me some of the things that were growing and talking about how much watering and water they were all needing because of the weather. And then there were these huge flowers. I can't remember what they were. They could have been cornflowers, but really impressively tall flowers right in the middle. And just as an offhand comment, she said, "Oh, I haven't had to water those at all, actually, because I planted them in the autumn, so their roots have gone really deep into the ground over the winter, and they found their own water, so they've been fine. I haven't had to water them at all." Which was pretty amazing, standing there in like 26, 27 degree heat, knowing there'd been no rain for weeks. So hold those two images in your mind. They've both been on my mind as I've been preparing this psalm. And kind of interweave again with this picture of this tree by this stream. And I think comparing us to a tree, to trees, is quite a good comparison, I think, because just like trees, we are thirsty people. Not just, in the natural way, but we are created with deep thirsts for things, for all sorts of things, for connection, for love, for purpose, for peace, for freedom. There's like these thirsts, we're thirsty people, and we'll find our water, we'll find things to satisfy those thirsts somewhere, we will. And the thing with a tree by a stream, which is what the psalmist says, this is what it looks like to flourish. This is what you look like when you intentionally choose God, turn your heart towards Him, is that it doesn't matter to a tree by a stream if it rains or not. It doesn't matter. There could be a drought for months, and this tree is quite happy. Not like the little apple tree. If I hadn't watered that apple tree for a couple of days, it would have been a goner. It was completely dependent on me, on the circumstances, to provide what it needed. But a tree planted by a stream, the weather, what's going on up here, has become almost completely irrelevant because it's drawing from a different source. And that source is never going to dry up. It's not going anywhere. And that's the image. That is what is on offer in this psalm, if we can get hold of it. It's an invitation to be people like that, to whom the kind of the circumstances of life, and I don't mean the details of your life. You hear me when I say, the details of your life have incredible meaning to God. I just mean the circumstances. I'm having a good day, I'm having a bad day, or something awful is happening, or something brilliant is happening. It's this place where those things, in a way, stop dictating how we're actually doing, what's actually going, the life that is going on here, because our roots are deep in this completely different source. It could storm, it could hail, it could snow, there could be a drought. Kind of irrelevant, really. We've got a different source that we're drawing from. Jeremiah 8, and this really gets me personally, he puts it as, it does not fear when heat comes, its leaves are always green. It has no worries in a year of drought and never fails to bear fruit. And that for me is a real, those two words, fear and worry, have probably been two of my biggest battlegrounds in my life. And I think particularly over the last few years, God has just done a real work in me, and I've shared it a few times in different ways, but has really been teaching me how to be a tree by a stream. I think previous to the last 3 years, I was totally kind of held sway by, captive to the circumstances. So, I'd wake up some days and feel a bit grumpy, and then one of the kids would do something, or I'd have some bad news, and that's it. I'd almost completely write off a whole day, like, today's just a bad day, and I've got nothing to give, and just sort of allow myself to just go into that place. And it's like I couldn't really find a way to climb out of it. I felt powerless to the circumstances and to those emotions. And I think what God's done in me in the last few years is kind of teach me a way, show me how to sink my roots much deeper into His life, so that actually that stuff, it still comes at me, and it's not like I'm completely immune. I'm not there yet either. So some days, it all falls apart still, but like, if there's kind of a curve going on here, the curve, the arc of my story is that increasingly I feel like a tree by a stream, that the winds can rage a bit and it could rain or not, but actually I'm drawing from a different source. There's something different going on. My roots are in a place where there is a constant supply of life. And it's God's presence and His provision. It's living water. It's living water. And there's this idea as well, this bit here, has no worries in a year of drought, and it never fails to bear fruit. I love that those two lines are together, because to me, I kind of read that as, there's fruit in a drought, how does that work? And I think the thing that God has been saying to me is, it's not even just about surviving the drought or the storm or whatever it is that's raging in your life at the moment. But actually, with God, with roots in the stream, there's actually a way to thrive that we still bear fruit, even when there's no water, which in the natural is completely impossible. But with God, I really believe that it's possible. That's what the psalm is offering us. And I'm tired, so I may cry. But we've been through a really difficult time as a family. Does somebody know? And I guess I feel so grateful that God has taught me some of these lessons prior to walking through the journey that we've walked. Because I'm not sure I would have made it otherwise. Because there have been some days where it's just been completely overwhelming, and I didn't feel like I had anything in me to, even just kind of survive it, let alone anything else. But I think I guess I've discovered this personally is what I'm saying, that actually there is a place, even in a drought, even when there's nothing, there's no sign of rain on the horizon, there's nothing coming to refresh you from your outward circumstances, where you are able to thrive. There is a place of thriving. There is a place of fruitfulness. I really believe. And do you know what? Even because of the drought, I don't know if that might just be me. Sometimes the enemy throws things at us, just life throws things at us. And maybe there's an opportunity to produce fruit that we wouldn't have been able to produce unless we'd gone through that thing. So sometimes maybe it's fruitfulness even because of the drought. But I honestly believe there's a way to thrive. It's hidden in this psalm. And it's such a stark contrast. If you pop back to the psalm, that sense of enduring and fruitfulness is such a stark contrast to this image. Not so the wicked, they are like chaff that the wind blows away. We've got this tree that's planted by a stream where the elements can't really touch it anymore, and then we've got the wicked that are like chaff and the wind just blows them away. there's no root system. The circumstances rage, and there's this sense of just not being able to find a secure place to dig into. It's kind of reminiscent of the parable that Jesus told about the man with the house built on the rock, and then the house on the sand. The circumstances rage, and the elements get the better of us. The circumstances get the better of us if we've not sunk our roots deep into God and His words and His presence. And you see this so clearly in Jesus. If you want to say, okay, that's good for a tree, but like, what does this look like in a human body? And I definitely don't embody it fully at all, but Jesus did, and Jesus does. There's Callie, I don't know how to say her last name, from Bethel. A girl from Bethel with a strange last name who's a worship leader, and she has written a brilliant song called Oasis. You should go and listen to it after this, because it's a lot of these ideas. And the first line is, "You are my ecosystem," which is great. I don't think I've ever heard God described as an ecosystem before. No matter what the weather. And I love that idea. And when you look at Jesus, it's like He's just got His own ecosystem going on. Think about the story of, calming of the sea. You read His responses and alongside the disciples' responses, and it's like He's in a different story. It's like you've just pulled a story and a story, but they don't seem to match, because He's just operating out of a completely different ecosystem, where it doesn't matter that there's a storm raging. In Him, with His roots deep in His Father, there is complete peace. And so when he speaks peace, it's not something He's just whipped up in the moment. He's drawing from this stream of peace that He's positioned in, and just comes out, bashes into the ecosystem of this storm, and it has to surrender. What would it look like if we lived like that? Wouldn't it be amazing? I'd love to calm a storm with my words. But maybe, I don't know, maybe I may never calm an actual storm, who knows, I never say never, but maybe we can calm the storm of someone's life. Maybe someone's in chaos, or in grief, or whatever, and we are trees rooted by a stream, we have an ecosystem of peace, and so we're able with our words to calm the storm that's raging for that person as we speak the peace that God has planted us in. Maybe that's how it works. And I guess that leads me on to something else which I felt was really key, is the whole thing of fruitfulness is such a key to this psalm, because if you notice, there's a nice fruit tree. Absolutely key to this psalm is it's not just any old tree in this psalm, it's specifically mentioned as a fruit tree. And I just think that's crucial to what's going on here. When you think about Jesus, like we're thinking, everything that He does, everything He says, it's all He's outwards, it's all blessing, giving, serving, loving, healing. He might be in a different ecosystem, but His hunger is to outwards all the time, sharing, giving, blessing, and that's how this works. Trees don't bear fruit for themselves. That fruit is not for that tree. It's for others.
Such a good word.
It's to give it away. And I also learned another really good fact about trees. I read a fact that trees draw out water from their roots, and that's how they grow, obviously. But did you know that 90% of the water that a tree draws up is just released into the air? They only take 10% for themselves to grow.
Really?
I just thought that was such an interesting fact, and just an amazing spiritual principle. A tree is like this. Jesus was like this. And I think that's the other aspect of this psalm, that it's not an invitation to just have a happy old time by the stream. Isn't my life lovely? Love this peace and this freedom that I've been given in Jesus. But it is that we draw it up, and then we give and we give and we give and we serve. And there's no fear that if we give and give and give, then I might not have enough for myself, because the supply is endless. We've got our roots in a stream, for heaven's sake. There's water passing every second. There's always more to draw from. Doesn't mean we don't need to take care of ourselves sometimes, but there's always more to give and to love and to serve. And Jesus is so about us bearing good fruit. Do you know, another little random fact, but by contrast, you know, it said the wicked are like chaff. I googled, what is chaff? And it's like the husk, like the outer bit of corn or grains. And the first thing that came up on Google was indigestible to humans. Isn't that interesting? We've got a fruit tree, the image of an abundant life in Jesus, feeding, giving, nourishing, hungry people. And then you've got the wicked are like chaff, which is totally indigestible to humans. And that's how it goes. When our hearts are turned away from God and we haven't got our roots in a stream, we've got nothing to feed a hungry world with. We've got nothing. It'll just be indigestible words. Nothing to actually nourish people's spirits with. Last thing, I want to kind of end on this. The other thing that just one word really that just struck me both with the psalm and with Jeremiah is
that wind is blowing in. It will not be closed down.
Thanks, doorkeeper. Last thing is how the tree got to be by the stream in the first place. Did you notice the word that's used in the psalm in Jeremiah? Planted. Isn't that a cool word? So this isn't just by chance that this tree ended up by this stream. It's been deliberately planted by the hands of a gardener that thought, where is a good spot to put this tree? Where is it going to thrive? Where is it going to find everything that it needs? There's this sense, again, of intentionality, but this time on God's part. It says that you're cared for, that you're nurtured. It says that before you were born, there was provision made for you for every season of life that you're going to face, that you've been planted in a place where right there for the taking, there's everything you need for fullness of life. And all you've really got to do is to make the choice to sink your roots into it. And that might look slightly different for all of us, depending on where we're at in our journeys. You've got to do something. There's always a response. There is always a response. God comes here and there's always a little way we've got to walk, but it's not much. It's not much when you think about the alternative. I don't want to be chaff. Much prefer to be planted by a stream. Kind hands of a master gardener have planted you by a stream. I love this picture particularly. Josh found this for me, but I said, oh yeah, that one, because the hands are dirty. I just think, there was a cost on God's part. He was prepared to get his hands dirty so that you could be planted by a stream, so that you could have everything you ever need for fullness of life. It doesn't really matter what comes your way. And the storms will come, and the droughts will come, because we can't escape those things in this life. We just can't. But it's okay, because you're planted by a stream, and so there is life, and there is peace, and there is joy, and there is freedom, and that is available for you. And Isaiah 61 says that in that place that we are oaks of righteousness, we are a planting of the Lord for the display of his splendour. And that's the privilege of what we get to be when we embrace Psalm 1 and all that it has for us.
Good word.
So yeah, there you go.